Jumping Jack Temple was born in Portland, Oregon in June of 1939. The Temple family moved to McMinnville when Jack was in the first grade in order to be closer to some relatives. Jack participated in several different youth sports as a child, and from a very young age, others could tell that his athletic ability was better than most, which earned him the nickname Jumpin' Jack. As a freshman at Mac High, Jack competed in 3 sports: football, basketball, and track, in which he earned a letter. As a starting running back, Jack led the freshman football team to an undefeated season and was the team's leading rusher. It was then that everyone knew Jack Temple was going to be a very special football player, which was the sport he was most passionate about. In his sophomore football campaign, Jack's hard work and positive attitude paid off when Grizzly coach Don Mabey moved him into the starting lineup. On top of being the lead running back, he also filled in as a defensive back and the team's punter. Jack had an excellent season with plenty of standout games while helping the team take second place in league. Jack also played backup guard on the varsity basketball team in his sophomore year. His great quickness led to him being designated the team's defensive stopper. The Bears had a good season, finishing second in the league, but their highest point of the season was when they defeated Beaverton, who was the state's #1 ranked team. In track, he participated in the 100-yard dash, low hurdles, and his best event, the long jump. Jack also anchored the 440 relay and was one of the school's best finishers in each of his events to end an excellent sophomore year. In his junior football season, the Grizzlies went undefeated in league play, while Jack earned an all-league first-team selection for being the league's scoring champion with 62 points and the team's junior MVP. In the state playoffs, the Bears traveled to Gresham to play their quarterfinal game in 4 inches of snow. The Grizzlies performed very well despite the weather, but unfortunately came up short of the victory by just 1 point. In his second varsity basketball season, Jack stepped into the starting lineup and became the team's second leading scorer and rebounder. The Bears took second place in league, which earned them a trip to the state tournament for the first time in 4 years. Jack was the team's leading scorer in both tournament games, but the Grizzlies season came to an end with a loss to Central Catholic. Temple only got better in his junior track season as he set new school records in 3 of his 4 events. Jack earned a district championship in the long jump, while helping the team take second place in the league standings. As the senior leader of the football team, Jack went on to have one of the best seasons McMinnville has ever seen. He led the team to an 8-win and 1-loss season and their second straight league title. Though the Grizzlies would come up short in the playoffs, Jack ended a great high school football career with an all-league and all-state first-team selection, while winning the team's Most Valuable Player award. He led the team in nearly every major offensive category, including pass receptions with over 25 yards per game. He rushed for over 1,100 yards on the season in only 9 total games. He crushed the league's all-time scoring record with 163 points while on his way to being the state's scoring champion. He was chosen to play in Oregon's All-Star Shrine Game, which was to be held in August after the end of the school year.
I was in the 5th grade when he was a senior in high school, and everybody in town knew about Jack Temple. I can remember one play in particular that it was a sweep. Jack was a halfback, running back, and he was coming around the end, and the right guard pulled and took out the defensive end, and the blocking back took out the linebacker that was coming up, and here it was Jack Temple squared up with the defensive back coming up to make the tackle. And what was interesting, Jack went right over him. He didn't run around him, he went right over him. And from that time on, I knew why everyone called Jack Temple Jumpin' Jack.
I was an offensive lineman in front of him, and you better get out of his way. Just climb right up your back. And then, but he was good, broken field runner. He could make moves. He was quick, and the two went together, being, strong and quick. Sometimes we wouldn't have a hole for him, and he'd just make it.
He really was a prototype, great running back. And my memory's a little cloudy, but I know we used him a little bit as a receiver, and he was, of course, adept at that too, getting open, catching the ball. He was just a terrific all-around athlete.
Unbelievable explosiveness. I can tell one little story that happened, and Coach Mabey said that we needed to do a reverse pivot to hand the ball to Jack so it would be deceptive to the defense. And this would just be a straight dive, and Jack was the right halfback. Straight dive and just reverse pivot so that the linebacker, the middle linebacker, or whatever, would see me pivot that way, and he would take a step and give a little bit better angle for Jack. So the first time we did it, I reverse pivot and Jack wasn't there. And I looked around and Jack was about 2 yards into the line of scrimmage. And I knew that I was slow, but I didn't know I was that slow. And so Coach Mabee came over and he says, well, that's not going to work. He said, unless we move Jack back. Well, we don't want to do that because that eliminates the quickness. So just turn and hand it off. So we snapped the ball, I turned and handed it off, I hit him in the hip. And he says, can you be a little quicker than that? I said, well, I can't get the ball any faster from the center to turn and hand him the ball. So he still didn't want to move him back. So the third thing that we did is we snapped the ball, and I stepped into the line right where the guard was, and that's the way we handed the ball off to Jack because he was so quick. And I vividly remember going through those steps with Coach Mabee because we went from being very deceptive to hit him in the hip to not worry about anything because Jack was in the line so quick the linebacker wouldn't have got him anyway.
As far as an in-game moment, I could name you several, but probably the one that stands out in my mind the most was our senior year. And to be honest with you, I can't tell you who we were playing, but they had been roughing us up. I mean, we were not doing well. And we were on our 20 or 25 yard line, and it was 4th down and 45 yards to go. Punt on 2. And Jack just stood there a minute and he said, no, give me the ball. Well, Jack was our punter, so he's going to get the ball either way. But he wanted us to know what he wanted to do, and he says, just give me the ball. And of course, all of us held Mr. Mabee in the highest regard, and we knew that if we didn't make it, Mr. Mabee was going to be waiting for us on the sideline. We ran it. And we were all scared to death that we might not make it, but we did.
And they faked it, and of course I think he went all the way for a touchdown.
But out of all the running backs that I ever witnessed at McMinnville High School, Jack Temple was by far the greatest running back we ever had.
I can't say enough about his ability, but he was also a hell of a guy, a real nice guy. Kind of guy, you know, everybody wants to be.
Jack's final basketball season was Eldor Bache's first year as the head coach. Bache introduced to the team a new and faster-paced version of the fast break offense, which allowed Jack's speed and quickness to dominate the game. He led the team in assists and steals, while the Bears raced to a 13-1 regular season, earning them the league championship and the right to return to the state playoffs. This year's appearance would be much more successful for the Grizzlies, as they went 2-2, taking 7th in state. This was the first time a MAC High basketball team ever played a 4th game in the tournament, and up to that point, gave them the highest end-of-the-year finish. Temple finished a great senior year as the track team's #1 participant. He again set new school records in the majority of his events while winning the district championship in the long jump. But perhaps his most impressive record was the one he set at the state meet in the long jump. Jumpin' Jack jumped an astonishing 21 feet 11 inches, which was a new school record, breaking his own from the year before. This mark was good for second place at the state meet and is still one of the longest distances in McMinnville High School's history. After graduating from Mac High in June of 1957, Jack was off to follow in his father's footsteps by accepting a full athletic scholarship to play football for the University of Oregon. His father, Mark, had been a standout running back for the Ducks in the 1930s, and he even played one season of professional football before serving in World War II. In Jack's final athletic competition before entering U of O, the All-Star Football Shrine Game, he unfortunately injured his knee during practice, which kept him out of the game. Later, doctors would tell him just how severe the injury was. Jack had torn a large percentage of his cartilage as well as several ligaments in his left knee, all of which required immediate surgery. This unfortunately caused Jack to miss his entire freshman football season at the University of Oregon while he was recovering and rehabbing his knee.
It was really an absolute shame when he went to the Shrine Game and tore his knee up. When that happened, he lost the ability to cut left, cut right, that type of movement with the knee. He didn't lose a lot of his quickness as far as running straight ahead. But Jack's situation was when he got through the line quickly and someone moved towards him, the guy couldn't find him because Jack had either gone right or left. He cut so quickly. I would say he probably, in the years, I coached 20 years with Coach Mabee, he was the quickest kid that we ever had off the line of scrimmage. And consequently, again, it was a shame that those things happened as far as his injury.
I knew he would do really, really well at Oregon, and he lost that chance. And I was very disappointed for him because in college and probably pros also, I think he would have done real well.
Doctors doubted if Jack should or even could play the sport of football again. But thanks to Jack's courage and dedication, he would prove his doubters wrong and again suit up on the football field. At the end of his freshman year, Temple transferred to Linfield College and slowly worked his way into the rotation on the Wildcats football team. He performed well as a reserve running back and ended the season with rushing averages of almost 30 yards per game and 7 yards per carry, which was tops on the team. The Wildcats finished the season in second place in conference. After the football season, Jack decided to give track another try as well. He competed in a few different sprinting events while helping the team to an undefeated season in a conference championship. Healthy, confident, and poised to remain successful in athletics in his junior football season, Jack moved into the starting lineup, was now the focal point of Linfield's rushing attack. He and the team raced off to an exceptional start of the season by winning their first 3 games by an average of 34 points. This helped the Wildcats earn a national ranking of 11, while Jack was known as the conference's most dangerous rusher. Going into their 4th game of the season, Linfield traveled to the College of Idaho to take on the 19th ranked team in the nation. It was in that game Jack made a cut that severely injured his left knee again. Unfortunately, this injury ended his career. At the time, Jack was leading the conference in rushing with almost 300 yards in only 4 games. Many journalists considered Jack to be having a guaranteed all-star season and perhaps even some All-American considerations. Even though he only played for less than half of the season, Jack finished that year as the team's 2nd leading rusher and 3rd leading scorer. It was a remarkably great football career that ended all too soon. Jack then devoted himself to academics and earned a business degree from Linfield in 1962. After graduation, he immediately went to work for U.S. Bank for several of their locations all over Oregon. Jack quickly worked his way into management and was very successful in the banking business for over 20 years. Later in life, he became involved in house restorations in the construction business, which along with wood carving has become a new passion of his. He also worked in the employment division for the state of Oregon in Salem until his retirement in 1999. Jack Temple has experienced great success at everything he has set his mind to. Now retired, his biggest passions are fishing and farming, but most of all, family.